was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do.
Fans and teammate Caitlyn Clark were taken aback when Sophie Cunningham unexpectedly revealed a $25 million Nike agreement using Caitlyn's name in the middle of the game. Cameras caught Caitlyn's unfiltered emotional response in real time: shock, incredulity, and happy tears, as the arena froze. This was more than a contract. It was a moment that defined a career and made a strong statement about women's sports receiving recognition at last. What does this mean for Caitlyn's future, though, and how did Sophie pull it off? Just watch to see how she responds. The moment nobody anticipated. Everything began just like every other day. Before the squad took the court, Caitlyn Clark assumed she was going to a standard strategy meeting, just another planning session hidden away in a quiet conference room. She anticipated discussing some marketing pitches, going over a few updates regarding sponsorship opportunities she had been pursuing since before the draft, and then heading into practice. However, she felt that something was unusual as soon as she entered. There was an almost electric charge in the air. Sophie Cunningham, a seasoned WNBA player renowned for her unwavering poise and unrelenting determination, was seated at the table. Caitlyn had always admired Sophie, a player who blended genuine kindness with ferocity. However, Sophie's typical composure had given way to a clear flush of enthusiasm today. She was holding a sleek folder close to her chest as though it held something too precious to let go. She could barely contain her smile as her eyes glistened. Curious, Caitlyn cocked her head. "What's happening?" Her voice was soft, but her heart was racing as she asked. Sophie took a while to respond. Rather, she got to her feet, approached Caitlyn, and placed the folder in her hands. "Go on," she pled, her voice full of passion. "Let it open. You own this." Caitlyn opened the folder with a hand that was a little shaky. Everything around her seemed to blur as soon as her gaze found the document inside. She could not believe what she saw there, emblazoned in large letters with the recognizable swoosh emblem shining up at her. A $25 million Nike endorsement deal. Her name was on one of the largest contracts ever extended to a female basketball player. Caitlyn was unable to move or speak for a few startled seconds. It seemed as though everyone in the room was holding their breath along with her as the room grew silent. Her heart pounded loudly in her ears. This was the kind of transformative experience she had imagined in her dreams, the kind of recompense she believed may take years to materialize, if it ever did. As reality set in, tears clouded her eyesight. All the time she'd questioned whether her aspirations were too lofty, all the nights she'd spent working out alone in the gym, and all the naysayers she'd dismissed. Everything had come to this point. What was even more shocking was that this surprise had not come from an anonymous business boss. It came from Sophie, a friend and mentor who had discreetly worked behind the scenes for weeks, advocating for Caitlyn with Nike's decision-makers and ensuring that her exceptional skill was acknowledged. Overwhelmed, Caitlyn raised her head and met Sophie's radiant eyes. She recognized in that moment that she was not only seeing the beginning of a historic collaboration with Nike, but also witnessing a strong gesture of devotion and faith from someone who simply wanted to see her succeed. Many people stated how surprised they were by Sophie's warmth and consideration. So, is it an investment for the future or a genuine expression of love? Let's examine Sophie's path to fame in more detail. For years, Sophie Cunningham was the epitome of perseverance in the WNBA, going from seasoned underdog to unlikely historical architect. She gained notoriety through viral moments or eye-catching headlines, but rather through her fierce energy and no-nonsense style. Sophie, who was drafted by the Phoenix Mercury, made a name for herself in the league by putting in a hard work, making clutch three-pointers, locking down opponents, and exhibiting a genuine and honest approach that fans found refreshing. Sophie's journey as an endorser was more modest than that of some of her classmates who went on to become the faces of major ad campaigns. Although they didn't generate millions of dollars, her decisions to support women-focused sports brands and collaborate with local companies mirrored her ideals. She wasn't the player that businesses were offering multi-million-dollar contracts to, despite the fact that the league regarded her for her dependability and moral character. Sophie was strategic, but she wasn't resentful. She was aware of the potential power of a significant endorsement contract. It was about visibility, advancement, and changing the perception of women's sports, not just financial gain. Sophie realized something extraordinary was taking place when she witnessed Caitlyn Clark thrilling audiences, packing arenas, and earning national headlines. Caitlyn was a movement as well as a gifted athlete. In ways the WNBA hadn't seen in years, her charisma, elegance, and enthusiasm were attracting fans. Sophie recognized a chance, but not only for herself, when Nike contacted her about increasing their commitment in women's basketball. She made the audacious and altruistic decision to draw attention to Caitlyn Clark. Sophie advocated for Caitlyn rather than promoting her own name. She showcased Caitlyn's influence on and off the court with statistics, videos, and anecdotes. She demonstrated to Nike not only Caitlyn's athletic prowess, but also her potential as a symbol. It was a big risk. The majority of athletes would have taken advantage of that opportunity to ensure their own future. Sophie, however, wasn't thinking tiny. Her trust paid off in unexpected ways because she thought that a deal for Caitlyn may open doors for all women in the game. Nike paid attention. They gave it their all in addition to agreeing. The sports world watched in amazement as Caitlyn Clark became the face of Nike women's basketball after a historic $25 million contract was signed. One of the loudest statements in recent sports history, that true leaders inspire others, was made by Sophie's silent act of support. Sophie's fingerprints were all over the place, even though her name wasn't on the contract. Because sometimes a legacy is founded on what you assist others receive rather than what you take. But why, of all people, did Sophia personally choose Caitlyn? What makes her fortunate to receive the surprise? Let's take a quick look at the rookie who revolutionized the playbook before getting into the specifics. Clark, Caitlyn. Caitlyn Clark had a lot of expectations when she first took the WNBA court. She wasn't just any rookie. During her time in college, when she did more than just play basketball, she revolutionized it. Her name had already become legendary. She transformed ordinary games into national events with each stunning, long three-pointer and fearless, thrilling performance. Stadiums filled, television ratings skyrocketed, and individuals who had previously hardly watched basketball became into devoted followers. Her influence was cultural as well as on the scoreboard. Caitlyn possessed a unique spark that enhanced the size, brightness, and excitement of everything around her. Excitement ensued when she decided to enter the WNBA. Ticket sales skyrocketed every place she performed. Media outlets were unable to obtain enough. The buzz persisted and was genuine. But despite all the promise and effort, Caitlyn had not yet secured a groundbreaking endorsement contract. Yes, there were discussions and brands around, but nothing tangible had emerged until a strong push from an unexpected source. Let's return to Sophie Cunningham now. Sophie, a reputable WNBA veteran, observed Caitlyn's potential to alter the future in addition to admiring her skill. Behind the scenes, Sophie quietly but resolutely stood up for Caitlyn. She realized that Caitlyn was a once-in-a-generation talent who might usher in a completely new era for women's basketball, not just another rising star. The game changer then arrived. Nike intervened with a huge $25 million agreement that rocked the sports industry. This was a message rather than merely a sponsorship. It demonstrated to the globe that investing in women's basketball is just as worthwhile as watching it. Really? According to reports, the agreement comprises massive national advertising campaigns focused on Caitlyn's path, a unique signature shoe line created specifically for her, and significant community initiatives aimed at developing girls' basketball from the ground up. Every woman who has ever dreamed of putting on sneakers and playing in the big lights was included at this moment, not just Caitlyn. While NBA players land deals for hundreds of millions of dollars, WNBA athletes have worked tirelessly for years, frequently receiving little financial appreciation. A clear and annoying message was conveyed by that gap. However, that message is now being revised. What fans and insiders had suspected was confirmed by Caitlyn's deal. Women athletes should be the focus of significant marketing initiatives, since they can increase sales and attract viewers. Perhaps more significantly, it demonstrated that players themselves can affect change in addition to businesses or leagues. Veterans like Sophie have the power to change the rules, create opportunities, and leave legacies. This is a pivotal moment in the history of women's sports, and Caitlyn Clark is the name at the forefront. It's not just about money or glory. Given their shared interests, it makes sense that they would become friends. Let's examine the specifics of the friendship that inspires constructive transformation. When friendship acts as a change catalyst, the enormous sum of money involved wasn't the only thing that made this occasion genuinely unique. By all accounts, $25 million is a life-altering amount, But what really impressed everyone watching was the sincere generosity that went into it. What Sophie Cunningham did wasn't necessary. In those crucial Nike meetings, she might have devoted all of her time to discussing her contracts, deals, and how she should be paid more. Nobody would have held her accountable for that. She had, after all, spent years establishing herself in a sport where female players are always fighting for respect, acknowledgement, and financial security. Sophie has bigger dreams and wasn't only thinking about herself. She made a different decision than many people in her situation who could have solely been concerned with their own achievement. Sophie made the decision to help someone else by using her connections, reputation, and platform. She thought Caitlyn Clark was more than just a gifted athlete. Sophie saw Caitlyn as a spark that had the potential to transform women's basketball in ways never seen before. In addition to helping her friend, Sophie was sowing the seeds for a better future for the WNBA as a whole by stepping forward to assist Caitlyn in landing this historic sponsorship agreement. She had a strong understanding. One woman opens the door for others to follow after she breaks through the obstacles. All of a sudden, more spectators begin to watch the games. Sponsors begin to pay close notice. Every place, young girls start to picture themselves in professional jerseys with their names being chanted by audiences. Sophie's decision was made to convey the idea that female athletes should have the same opportunity, respect, and attention as males, not only to secure a contract or make headlines. Her acts had a knock-on effect, demonstrating that amazing change is possible when women support one another. She witnessed not only what Caitlyn was capable of, but also the significance of that accomplishment for innumerable other athletes who will eventually take the court with similar aspirations. Caitlyn's emotions took over when the unexpected announcement was revealed. Her expression said it all. She was simultaneously moved, humbled, and shocked. She turned to Sophie, hugged her tightly, and said, "I don't even have words," as the cameras flashed and the crowd shouted. You could sense the weight of all they had given up in that silent moment. The never-ending training sessions, the public scrutiny, the self-doubt, and the implicit knowledge that this was about much more than a contract. This one act of generosity brought to light the allure and inspiration of women's sports. It's not simply about who wins the awards or scores the most points. It's about resiliency, camaraderie, and a common goal that transcends personal aspirations. Women's sports frequently foster a camaraderie that feels like family, in contrast to many other settings where competition transforms people into rivals. The athletes are fighting not just for themselves, but also for future generations and one another. Sophie's decision to stand next to Caitlyn at that precise moment conveyed a strong message. Real success is determined by how you use your platform to help others climb with you, not simply by your own accomplishments. Season after season, women's sports continue to grow because of this spirit. That advancement is something that should be shared. It's obvious why moments like this can inspire millions of people outside of the court when you see that level of unity. Sophie Cunningham's unwavering support and solidarity for her buddy in court demonstrated the depth of their connection. What took place? How did Sophie Cunningham stand up for her friend? Let's investigate. Sophie Cunningham's unity following a tough game against the Connecticut Sun. Sophie Cunningham spoke candidly with media. She publicly chastised the WNBA for failing to safeguard her colleague, Caitlyn Clark, who has emerged as the biggest new star in the league. Cunningham made it apparent that she was fed up with Clark being shoved, hit, and fouled without facing any repercussions. After Cunningham gave Sun guard J.C. Sheldon a harsh foul, the game descended into chaos. Sheldon had earlier unintentionally jabbed Clark in the eye, which many thought was a risky move. Cunningham's combative reaction was like lighting a match near gasoline, and tensions had already been building. Players from both sides suddenly charged in, pushing and yelling. The game was stopped when a full-fledged altercation broke out. With less than a minute remaining in regulation, officials dismissed Sun guard Lindsey Allen, Cunningham, and Sheldon. Indiana managed to win the game in spite of the turmoil. However, Cunningham later wanted everyone to understand the reasons behind her actions. She clarified that there was more to this affair than a single foul or game. Cunningham asserted that this had been accumulating for a few years. Despite Clark being the WNBA star player and attracting a lot of attention from fans, she said that referees had consistently failed to shield him from excessive contact.